Miltiades is outnumbered and outgunned. The Athenians have never faced a force like this before. But they have cut their teeth on some of the greatest warriors of the ancient world. For centuries, these two Greek city-states shed each other's blood. But 50 years before Miltiades faces the Persians, a conflict erupts between the Greek neighbors that will ultimately lead to the Battle of Marathon. It's 540 BC, 50 years before the Battle of Marathon. Two Greek city-states, Athens and Sparta, attack each other on the open battlefield.
The rivalry between Athens and Sparta is kind of like Michigan versus Ohio State, except with spears. They constantly seek any advantage they can over one another. While most of their battles are, provincial squabbles, one of them gets the Persians involved and eventually leads to the Battle of Marathon.
Athens is known as the birthplace of democracy. Sparta, their neighbor to the west, couldn't be more different.
Imagine that the U.S. Marines had their own country. That's Sparta. They train constantly, weapons, tactics, armor. It's pretty much all they do. Now, the Athenian-Spartan relationship is very bipolar. Sometimes they help each other, sometimes they fight.
At the time, Athens is ruled by a man named Hippias. He is, however, wildly unpopular with the Athenian aristocrats. So they plot a coup and overthrow Hippias with the help of some unlikely allies, the Spartans.
Now, the problem with the Spartans helping you is that they wouldn't go home. And that was the problem that the Athenians had, was how to get rid of the Spartans. Well, they rose in revolt and drove the Spartans out of Athens. And it was that period about 540 BC, which was the beginning of Athenian democracy at about this time. The problem was this. Inevitably, one would expect the Spartans to counterattack.
Athens believes they need an ally to defend themselves against Sparta. They turn to the Persian Empire.
So that's one of the first examples in Greek history of a smaller state trying to ally itself with a larger state, in this case the Persian Empire, in order to protect itself from aggression of another state, in this case Sparta.
Athens sends an envoy to the Persian province of Ionia, now modern-day Turkey. At the court of the Persian governor, the envoy asks for Persia's help against Sparta. The Persian governor agrees, but on one condition. The Athenians must make a sacred offer of earth and water.
The trouble is, the Athenians don't really understand what the offer of earth and water means. They think they're signing a treaty, just like the treaties they've made in the past with other Greek city-states. But to the Persians, accepting earth and water means they own Athens. It has become their colony.
Without understanding what they're really doing, the envoys submit to Persian rule. All of Athens will pay dearly for this mistake.
It made no sense to the rational Greeks. I mean, these are the people who invented logic, mathematics, and philosophy. For them, it was just a silly little ritual that really meant nothing.
Now, the problem then is the same problem now. When you have two cultures reaching an agreement, sometimes that agreement means different things to each party because the cultural context in which it occurs is different.
Athens secures the promise of Persian protection, but Sparta attacks so quickly, Athens has no time to call on her new ally.
Determined to keep their new democracy, Athenians fight more ferociously than ever. They defeat the Spartan invasion on their own. Now, this is important because Athens had asked the Persians for help, but they don't need it. They defeated Sparta all by themselves.
The Athenians now felt that the agreement they had made with the Persians was null and void, and made the terrible mistake of telling the Persians that.
This infuriates the Persian emperor, Darius I.
It amounted, in the Persian view, to little more than an open revolt, and Darius resolved that he was going to bring Athens to heel.
The Persians send heralds to Athens and demand payment of customary taxes. Athenians throw them into a pit to die. Athens has spit in the face of the world's most powerful empire.
Throughout history, alliances often come with unintended consequences, but few have the magnitude of the treaty between Athens and Persia. If the Athenians never asked for Persian help against the Spartans, the world might be a completely different place today. It sets off centuries of conflict between the East and the West.
And the first major battle is Marathon, where more than 20,000 Persian infantry, cavalry, and archers are preparing to burn Athens to the ground. The Athenian general Miltiades and 10,000 Greek infantrymen are colossally overmatched. But Miltiades does have one advantage.
How does he offset the inferiorities that he suffers relative to the Persian forces? And the answer, as almost always in antiquity, is the same. Terrain, terrain, terrain. Location, location, location.
Historians debate the exact route the Persians would have taken to get from Marathon to Athens. Some believe they would have taken the coastal road, a route that passes through the Vrexiza swamp.
But then you would have had to go through a swamp, which was doable. But then you would have been a problem where the Persian army would have been in column of march, trying to gain the road with the Athenian army on its flank. Always a bad idea.
The only other way to Athens is through the mountains, beginning at the Vrana Valley.
If the Persian army intends to invade Athens, it's got to go through the mouth of that valley. And it's not very wide. It's not very wide. So what Miltiades does, he decides to block the valley. And he deploys his troops in the mouth of the Vrana Valley in order to make it impossible for the Persians to advance further.
Miltiades has positioned his infantry in the valley like a cork in a bottle. The Athenian phalanx is made up of lines of tightly organized, interlocking warriors. They can move forward and back easily, but not side to side.
The phalanx formation is incredibly effective at holding ground and moving forward. With rows of men packed tightly together, they use each other's overlapping shields to form an armored wall.
Miltiades anchors his flanks on the rocky sides of the hill and then goes about chopping down trees to put them on the flanks as well. Why does he do this? He's well aware of the fact that the weakness of the Greek phalanx is its flanks. Whenever it has died in battle, it has died because it's been taken in the flanks, either by another phalanx or mostly by cavalry.
In the valley, the flanks of the phalanx are well protected.
So you're not going to rely on the steepness and the rocks alone. You pile it with brush and trees and logs so that there can't be any cavalry attack. So just by positioning his troops where he has essentially taken the cavalry out of the fight. Brilliant maneuver.
The Persian commander Datis is not concerned and assembles his infantry. For 3 days, the Persians line up for battle. But the Greeks choose not to engage them and stay in their protective zone.
It wins the day if there's no fight at all. Its job essentially is to protect Athens by blocking the road. So if you would like to stay here for several weeks, that was quite okay with Miltiades. It's not okay, of course, with the Persians.
Finally, the frustrated Persians initiate an attack. The Athenians form up for battle. But the Persians do not immediately send in their infantry. They first launch a blistering barrage of arrow fire. Under a tidal wave of missiles, there is nowhere for the Athenians to hide.